Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to What the Duck. I hit the wrong one, and here we are. It's only 4 of us today, but this is the beginning of the more regular, every other week What the Duck experience. We were here 2 Tuesdays ago, and, well, we're back again. I want to start this off on a positive note. Yesterday was my birthday, so I'm feeling very good.
Happy birthday, Zyori.
I feel old, and I feel decrepit, but I feel good. You know, there's bright futures. I turned 28, Slacks.
Oh, I thought you were 27.
Yeah, I'm way older than you thought, Maud. I'm 28. Mind blown.
Congratulations, Zyori. Welcome.
I made it this
28. That's great, man.
So how are you
Nice
guys?
job eating daily, going to the bathroom, etc.
Yep.
Not being murdered.
Great job, buddy.
Well, great. Yeah, we made it. So how's everybody else doing, Slacks? You made it back to the States. I want to hear first about one of the early stories in this episode. You got to tell us about your recent trip to the Philippines. You were in a movie. You're a freaking movie.
Yep. You know, it was a good event on my end. Had a great time. I thought it was wonderful. I got to meet some movie stars and all that shit.
Great.
Let's see. I met Jango Fett. He's pretty cool. The Green Power Ranger. I met the
OG
cyborg,
Green Power Ranger?
the original, the OG. I met the guy from Deadpool, the cyborg guy, Colossus. It was neat, I guess.
You're really moving up in the world, bud. You're starting to like move up from, hey, I'm hanging out with eSports celebrities to you're hanging out with real celebrities now. You're hanging out with the Green Ranger. Dreams are being realized.
I don't think so. I don't think movie's gonna be great. Let me just say, A tier. I'm not gonna say what the movie is or where to find it. I had a wonderful time.
You have a role in it or something? How is this working exactly?
I did. I found out that I was there just to host the event, and they said they liked me and they put me in the movie. But I'm not.
Wow.
Don't care. I'm not gonna say anything about it. There's been some questions arose on the Reddit. There's been some complaints, but as someone who was hired for the event and was paid for it, no comment. Thought it was wonderful. Thought it was a wonderful time.
Great.
All right.
Well, that's very exciting, pal. I'm glad one of us is realizing dreams.
More.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No problemo.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Purge, what's happening in your world, man?
Just been busy with like a variety of projects, basically. Been trying to stream more often, things like that, get my life in order to be more efficient and stuff like that. That's about it.
Yep. I've been working on getting my life in order also. It's been in the working process for 28 years, and I'm still not there.
Get there, buddy.
It's tough.
Cool. How about the Dota world, man? What's anything really exciting for you? Have you been making new content? I'm not a subscriber to Purge Gamers, so give me the
Whoa!
I'm upset.
I mean, that's why my MMR is so low, right?
Yeah. Still working on the Learn Dota series, which is basically like going to take all the Day 9 stuff that we did and turn it into a video series. Hopefully like 10-minute episodes instead of like the hour-long lessons that we did. That way it's more digestible. Still working on scripts and things like that, and just some extra things behind the scenes, trying to get sponsors for that as well, so that it's actually profitable, because otherwise it would be a lot of editing. Obviously the Patreon helps with that too. So just a mix of stuff, just like tidying. It feels like a lot of tidying lately.
Yeah.
Clean the kitchen for like 2 hours a day. That was weird.
2 hours
experience
in
for
the
me.
kitchen?
Yeah.
What are you doing in there?
Dishes. Then I had to wipe down the counter and then move things around a little bit. Wipe down the top of the fridge. I haven't done that in like a year, 2 years, ever. You ever do that? Not me. That was the first time.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
don't think we've done that since we moved
What
in.
happens when we wait for the patch? Let's talk about what Purge did in the kitchen for 2 hours. Dishes. Some sink work.
How about you, Maut? What are you doing?
Well, I went to, this is how my life is. I went to the Red Hot Chili Pepper concert alone yesterday. It was fantastic.
Hey!
Real good time. Met some great people. Really lovely. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, no, it was real great. Maut went to a Red Hot Chili Peppers concert on my birthday, didn't buy me a ticket, didn't even invite me, didn't even think it could be a fun bro outing. Instead, he went by himself, sat alone.
First of all, Andrew, it just so happens the concert got rescheduled for March on your birthday, all right? You
serendipity, bro.
I could have bought a ticket, but yeah, it actually was serendipity.
Wow.
Correct.
What a dick.
Yeah, that's me.
I love it. All right. Well, you guys want to talk some Dotes? First things first.
Okay.
I know you guys want to talk about other more important shit. Let me get this out of the way. Let's talk about the Dunkey video.
I
Okay?
saw the threads about it. What actually happened?
What happened was, popular YouTube creator Dunkey, ex-League of Legends streamer and player, was making a video comparing graphics. And he threw up a clip of Dota 2 and said, look at Dota 2. It's so complicated. It's such a piece of shit game. It's so confusing to see what's happening. And then he showed a video of League. And he said, now look at League. Look at that simplistic art style that focuses only on the action and not on all this background shit. The drama was that not only did people think he was wrong, but he also showed a clip grabbed from a Twitch stream of the first International.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus.
It was very low quality. It was 7 years old, and people were upset about it. So that is the drama.
Man,
It ain't
first
right.
thing, I like. He's good. I like Dunkey, actually. I like his videos. But he's always been like a League fan, which is, whatever, fine. But that's...
Maut, did you stop pressing your push to talk button
Maut, what
No,
happened?
I
halfway
didn't.
through your sentence?
You just
No.
trailed off there, like that
See, this
episode of
is-
The Office where Dwight has a concussion. You just
This is why I don't turn up my open mic slacks. I shouldn't have listened to you beforehand. Now this shit's happening. Great.
But that's... Alright, here's my stance on it. I know it's shit tier drama. It ain't the good shit that
we're
we've been
really
used to
scraping,
lately.
dude. This is really.
Yeah.
This is the shit drama. Then we'll get to the good drama. Here's the thing. Dude's a comedian. He's gonna make jokes.
Yeah.
Sometimes those comparisons, you can't hold them to a good standard. It's a fucking comedy video. And that's coming from somebody who openly and often flames League and calls anyone that played League foul filth that I'll never be able to talk or trust to. It's a
Right.
comedy video.
Yeah.
Let it
Yeah.
go.
Knowing Dunkey, that sounds like the type of joke he would make in the first place, like joking that Dota looks like garbage using an old TI clip. But yeah, he used to play a ton of League, and he used to be a pretty big fan of League, but now I guess he doesn't play it or like it that much, so I could see it being a joke. I watched the video, but I guess I glossed over that part, which is really
Oh, I'm sorry,
interesting.
Mark, could you get out of your pool for a sec? What's going on?
What is happening?
Nothing.
We know you
I
like
don't know.
swimming, Maut, but you can't do it all the time.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You sounded,
You
like,
sounded
underwater.
totally normal, and for like 3 seconds there, it actually sounded like you were gargling and talking at the same time.
I don't know if I'd say
What is
gargling.
going on?
Swallow,
Somebody
Mont.
please help me.
Please swallow. All right.
Can we move
So-
this top? who
Yeah, I don't know.
cares?
I don't
Let's
even
be
know
real.
what to
Who
say
cares?
about
I'm
this.
just saying.
I mean,
This
how
is-
is it a
this is what I s-
drama? Like-
Dota players are like so concerned about how they're viewed internationally right now that if anybody mentions, this is like being a Bernie Sanders fan like last year basically.
Oh, here we
Anytime
go
they're
again.
mentioned, everybody like tries to make some shit about it and get excited like, oh wow, somebody actually fucking talked about the thing we care about.
Right.
And in this case, it doesn't matter that much. Like,
If you posted in that thread at all,
I mean,
inconsequential, feel bad about yourself. Literally does not matter, and if you're tilted about it, please.
sometimes people make bad jokes. You remember the Digital Chaos announcement, that Suns fan video, right?
Oh,
That's called a
shit.
bad
Definitely
joke,
a
guys.
joke.
And you don't need to
Definitely
read
a
into
joke.
it more than we thought that would be funny. It kind of wasn't, and that's it. We're all just gonna move on and laugh about it. I don't know.
Definitely a
Maybe
joke.
I'm jaded, but it just I don't know, Slacks. I don't have much on this one.
Yeah, what can I say? I
Dude,
mean,
there are so
I
many
was just
people in
saying.
this thread that are just going crazy about it. They're posting
I
these
know.
like long paragraphs, and my God.
okay, like the only way we can save this discussion is make it talk about dead game, basically, as far as
Sure, let's go
Oh.
into that.
because
Let's
it
go
ties
into
into
that.
what I said before. People want to know how our game is viewed outside of our community because some people are raising some red flags saying that Dota has basically, I think the safest way to describe it is Dota has not grown in population and it has slightly dipped, I believe, within the last 2 years. So it's not like the game's not dying, it's not like hitting the ground, it's just it hasn't increased in player base. So people
Yeah.
are trying to figure out why that is. And then when they see somebody post a video that compares the game, shows the game in a negative light with misleading footage, which is probably done accidentally, then this is what happens. People freak out basically.
Right.
I mean, it's
I
it's
see.
true, right? I mean, there is some truth to that. It's a legitimate thing to be concerned about because if somebody who's never seen Dota before sees that, and that's the first thing they saw and go, that game looks fucking awful, and then they just never give it a try, that's kind of a shame, right? That's a closed door for no reason other than like a joke that isn't really that funny. So I kind of get it, but at the same time,
But-
that is...
But in reality, like before League did their like client revamp, that
Yeah.
game looked like dog shit. It was so bad. Like they were.
It still
I
looks
watched
bad.
one tournament, and there was this character that shot down this like gray puddle, and it was just the color like hard gray. It didn't have like blending. It was just a gray puddle, and I'm like, what the fuck is that ability? Like it just looked genuinely bad. Everybody, like that's the common
That's
consensus.
Blindy,
Dota's
the
art
colorblind
design is
hero?
better. I'm not sure. I don't know who it was. I mean, I haven't played the game much, but I don't know. It's just a silly argument, I guess. It's not that important. I'd rather just talk about why people are upset right now.
Sure.
I know you guys have read the Reddit threads. You've seen the Reddit threads. What are your guys' theories?
Why people are upset?
Yeah,
What are we
why
talking
do
about?
people feel like the game is dying? Like, why is there a general
People
unease?
are fucking stupid. That's why people think the game is dying. Listen, that's always been Dota's problem, is because it has a really hard entry level to get into it. That has never been not its issue. The issue is that getting into Dota is difficult, but it's a two-sided problem. Getting into Dota is difficult, but once you're in, it's extremely rewarding, because people like to be part of something that is hard. They like to say, yeah, I mean, I got through that. I mastered it. I'm 3K MMR. I started at 2K. It's part of the initiation. So its entire culture, the superiority complex, the reason why people make these angry comments is because they want to defend it, because it's part of who they are. That's what it's built off of. So you can't change that. Dota's been dying since the day it's been born. And sure, the viewership might ebb and flow and dip. Okay, sure. But everybody's viewership ebbs and flows and dips once in a while. I really don't think that it's anywhere near on the way of dying. It only needs a new update to go far past anything that it's ever done. I mean, it's so stupid.
Isn't it just cyclical? Like what we're seeing right now? I mean, yes, we're not growing like we used to, and it's in between patches and stuff like that. Maybe it's due to, I don't know, PUBG taking some of the player base, which I don't think is the case. I think this happens between every big patch. When we're like after TI, there's not a patch for a while. All of a sudden, it takes forever and people stop playing as much.
It's not just like time of the year things. It is if your player base hasn't really increased in like 2 years, that's maybe a negative thing.
It is slightly disconcerting for sure, but I think, I don't know, if the patch comes out and the player base continues to stay where it's at now and not grow, then I would be a bit concerned. But even then, I'm not really that concerned, because it's not like we're dying.
Where we are.
I would kind of agree with Maut that I think new content is sort of the key, right? Like the growth of Dota, I would be surprised to hear a lot of people thinking that it should be kind of linear, right? You would expect the growth to be around exciting events or opportunities where you can find a casual friend who hasn't played, like maybe Dire Tide, right? Someone who hasn't played Dota, you can say, hey, dude, this is a weird mini game. Just play with us. It'll be fun. Ways to integrate people that play games but just not our game are a pathway to do that. There's always that bubble around TI, right? That hype of people saying, whoa, this is awesome. I see all this hype. I want to try to play the game. And then it kind of peters off once that hype dies. So there is a cyclical nature, but I think Purge is right. What do we do when you look at the years over years of, are we really, raising that peak number? That's kind of $1 million question. Like if we had the answer to that, we'd be working at Valve, right? Is that the...
Look at Valve's track record, though. They are probably the best people at taking a video game and extending its longevity. I mean, Team Fortress 2 yesterday just got a fantastic new update that they're working on. They've been waiting, they haven't had a real update in like 2 years, but yet they still have that niche community. And it's impossible. That's video games. Video games are like watching a movie. You get a product. You're not going to do that forever. There's another iteration of that game unless you're like an MMO like World of Warcraft. That's the only exception where the player base is going to constantly be linear. I mean, it's going to have its fans. Fans will come and go. It's part of being in the entertainment business. Yeah. Does that mean that the game is going to be over? No. Never.
I mean, I guess
Purge, never gonna die.
Let me ask you this: is there a number at which the thing we're arguing about doesn't really matter anymore? Like, is there a certain mass adoption where so many millions of people play Dota that the fact that it's not really growing isn't that scary because we have so many people? The real conversation is about converting Dota players that don't care about esports to trying to care about esports rather than bringing new players into Dota. Is there a point where that lack of growth isn't scary anymore because our community is so big?
I mean, I feel like we're already there. Our community is already very big. And if anything, we're seeing, I feel like, a financial injection happening in the last 6 months. I don't know about you guys personally, but I've got approached by a lot more sponsors lately. And with all the major minor system going on as well. And orgs, like even brands like ESL, for example, they ran like what 2 tournaments a year before, like last year, maybe 1 or something, and now they have multiple events and multiple different like brands and things. I feel like there's, if anything, a resurgence going in esports within Dota 2 personally. But I don't think Valve cares about focused efforts of like converting their players to esports. They do it sometimes, like in-game stream for TI, they did that, and Dota TV promotion and stuff like that, but it's not like they've ever like really tried to force Dota 2 players to watch an esport game. They just try to like have it there in case people want to tune in. So I think their goal should just be get more players to play the game. And one way they are doing that, and something you guys said, other game modes or something, they're having that custom game contest thing for like $30,000. Whoever makes the best custom game gets $30K.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. Like maybe, like I really like Ability Draft, and I was just thinking about this today. I was like, why don't I just try to convince more people to play fucking Ability Draft? It's in Dota 2. It's Dota, but it's new. It's something learning. I think the crux of this issue, why people get upset, is like, if you play a game for too long and you feel like you kind of have everything figured out, you just start getting annoyed by the things that bother you. So people get annoyed of the top meta heroes, and people get annoyed of AFK junglers or their teammates that play X certain way that they feel like they see all the time. And when that frustration builds up and there's not enough fun, new, interesting things that they haven't experienced before, then people start getting a little bored and maybe move on to another game. Because it's fun to jump into like PUBG for the first like 50 games and play it because you haven't experienced anything. And like maybe it won't have the same longevity once you see all its faults, but it's very easy for people to be swayed away from other games sometimes.
I mean, and that's why Warcraft 3 was so it had so much longevity, was because of the custom game, because of those lobbies. I mean, obviously Dota came from Warcraft 3, and I think if Dota can have, I mean, Dota has good custom games, don't get me wrong, but if it can have the same sort of impact with custom games that Warcraft 3 did, then all of a sudden we're not really worried. We'll have players upon players playing either Dota or custom games.
What was it about Warcraft 3 that allowed that custom game platform to really take off? Because they kind of tried it with StarCraft 2, right? There are other map editors out there for games, and none of them have ever felt as like prolific as that Blizzard map editor.
I think the way to describe it is the culture, and I think I have a good background on this. I used to play custom games in Brood War, and I definitely played custom games in Warcraft 3, and then I played it more in college. What was interesting about the way that it happened would be that if you wanted to make a custom game, you'd have to have the map downloaded on your computer, then you'd have to host it with a title. So to see what games were being played, you'd look at this like scrolling list that would just like scroll game names. So you just see stuff. You're constantly being advertised to, basically. And occasionally you'd see a random game. So if you and your friends wanted to try something new, and the standards were not very high, we weren't like jumping into these games being like, yeah, this is going to be perfection. Most of them were designed awful. They were shitty. The ones you saw a lot were like Dota, and then there's a couple other like brands,
tower defenses and stuff.
Tower defenses, like names that people recognized. So it was like back then when there weren't like all these blockbuster titles. You knew that with just Warcraft 3, you could play all these different customs. You could play with your friends, all try to get in the same lobby. It was this like community feeling kind of thing, and it was very easy to try something new. But now like all gamers are kind of like going into their little corners with their little Discord groups with their immediate friends, and you don't really talk to anybody else. And you don't really make as many friends on the internet, in my opinion, right now as I used to 10 years ago when I was younger and the internet was more new. So I think it's easy to like get into the games you like. Like I can't relate to a League person very well. They can't relate to me very well, even though the games are like actually very similar, very functionally very similar on the outside. So it's just kind of the toughness with the culture getting deeper, is that everybody keeps spreading into their little caves and hiding and sitting there with their friends and not playing custom games is kind of my overarching way to
I
look
gotta
at it.
admit, dude, you sound like a dad. You know, back when I was a kid, our friends would go outside and meet each other. And now,
I mean, you remember Xbox Live, right?
Kids
remember like the first couple years of like Halo 2. That was
Oh,
like
yeah,
the first
you had a
time I'd
good
ever
game,
voice
you
chatted
had
with
somebody.
some random person.
Yeah.
Everybody would say like racial slurs, and I didn't personally, but a lot of people would say like racial slurs and like swear at each other. It's like sitting in the plane when you're about to land on PUBG. That was like the internet on Xbox Live back then, and like it was exciting, and you discover glitches together, and it spread like wildfire. It's like the same thing I talked about before. It was something new to explore and learn.
Damn,
And
dude, this is getting real deep.
that was what was exciting about it back then. But I think the internet is different now, I think, and
Yeah.
that's why things
It
like
was-
custom games don't work as well.
It was in its infancy, right? That type of online play. I mean, yeah, online play has gone back for, a couple of years, 98, 99, maybe even earlier than that. And you didn't have, like you mentioned, I agree with you completely. You have these group of friends now, like us, for example. We know each other through esports. We know a couple of other people. We have people that we enjoy playing games with. Whereas now you're just kind of like, okay, well, or before you would just get on and you'd say, okay, this guy was fun to play with, I should add him. That doesn't really happen in Dota anymore, or just in general. I feel like it does happen occasionally, but it's few and far between. I think.
I don't even play games with you guys. Forget about playing games with people I don't know.
True.
All right, well, let's get back to the issue, though. Let's go a little bit back on track. So, a lot of people are saying that the reason that Dota is having trouble is because it's not focusing on its casual audience. It's too much into esports. The focus too much is on the meta of pro players. I actually disagree with that, even though I'm a big proponent for, the little guy, so it should be, like the pub player and stuff, because that can turn around and bite you in the ass, especially on a game like Dota. Let me tell you the story of Team Fortress 2, best game ever made, and then the free-to-play update, and that game turned into the biggest pile of shit ever. And it's because they wanted to appeal to a more casual fan base. Then you have a game like CSGO, who only cares about their pro fan base, and they release an R8 revolver, which is great in pro games, but completely ridiculous in pub games. This kind of shit. So it's delicate, You can't put all your focus on the casual, because what do you do for the esports?
Yeah,
I will admit, though, a little bit more casual would be good.
And catering to the casual, like if you balance the game around Ricky being OP at 2K MMR, then it has massive drastic impacts on high MMR players. It's just you can't base it if you have a competitive scene that you want to keep succeeding and you want those core group of people that love the game to continue caring about it. You can't change it for the 2K players, even if they are also an important part of the game. They might not like Slacks always goes on about PA being overpowered. She's not overpowered. She doesn't have a great win rate. She's limited in solutions. It's just players don't know how to deal with her.
Yeah. In 2 months, PA is going to be top
because
tier,
of that reason.
Dumbass.
Honestly, she's not going to. She has lots of
limitations.
limitations.
She's going to, bro.
She's weak to nukes, stuns, everything. She has problems.
3 months ago, Purge, you said Soul Ring. Don't ever buy Soul Ring. Soul Ring's a stupid item.
I said don't rush Soul Ring at the start
now
of the game.
Everybody's
Sage's Mass Soul Ring recipe. I don't know about that one.
I will say, in terms of the little guy, balancing the game around the average, pub player, the 2K MMR people, that's a bad idea. I do think there are probably better ways to get people into Dota. The tutorial is fine, but I don't know, every time I talk to people about it, they just
tutorial does suck.
All right, well, fine. But you get what I'm saying, though. They need a better version of that. They need some other way to make the game easier for people to get into. And I know it's not easy to do that because the game is so complex already.
I think there needs to be like a middle ground between bots and humans. There's this weird point where slaying bots becomes mundane very quickly when you're still pretty bad at Dota. And then you're still not quite ready to play with real people who are going to be mean to you because you only know what 2 heroes do, for example.
Right.
Like that's one of the gaps. Like there isn't a good, almost like there needs to be a campaign, for the first 10 hours of Dota. That isn't the tutorial.
And that's what they tried making the tutorial, but it's not that at all. It's not a campaign. And also the thing is, you can't always rely on not everybody's going to have a friend that already plays Dota.
What about Silt Breaker, dude? Maybe Silt Breaker is the tutorial that we've been waiting for.
Listen, I'm 100% serious about this.
Jesus.
But I really do think that custom games, as we talked about before, are the solution. This custom game contest, I really think, is the big one. I remember when I first got into Dota, it was literally because of Dire Tide. I loved playing Dire Tide. And it was the first time I ever played Dota. And I got scared to try the real Dota because, I tried Dire Tide, which was like a mini Dota. That's what it needs. So this custom game contest, if Valve is smart and they get good shit and they promote it correctly, it will influx new players in an environment where they're not terrified to lose. Yep. And that's the biggest thing.
And where people won't flame them if they make big mistakes. They need to learn how to get into a game, how to level up their skills, how and where to buy items, how to generally team fight and think. And once you get those basics down, people are fine. But they have to get up until that point usually before they start feeling comfortable. And if they don't get to that point, then people are going to yell at them. And obviously toxicity is the other end of that coin or side of the coin, which is another big problem to solve. And it seems like they're making progress on this. Maybe they're banning people more often now. I feel like I've seen Reddit posts like that, but it's hard to track. How many of those people that are angry are just Smurfs? That's another thing. When people get frustrated about losing all the time because they're sick of X thing, they'll just make Smurf accounts so the games are easier, and then they go ruin somebody else's game and act like an asshole. It's there's a lot of problems. It'd be better if it was just if we were League of Legends player base, it would be so easy because there'd be so many new players all the time They just play against each other, and then it's just simple. But if Dota doesn't have a crap load of new players, then there have to be experienced players with new players every single game, just about. Maybe I don't know what the numbers are.
You also can't. It's certainly not as simple as just isolating out some of those like features that allow you to connect with other humans in an attempt to isolate you from negativity, right? Like they've tried that in League. S2 tried it with that really crappy game that never got off was it Strife? Where they didn't show deaths so that you couldn't be flamed for being a feeder. You couldn't talk to the other team so that nobody could yell at you in the middle of the game when they kill you. Sort things like that, so that it's like we guarantee that there's no toxicity. It's like, and there's also no human interaction. Congratulations.
Well, there's no fun.
Yeah,
I mean, we all admit that's why it's fun, is to have someone else be miserable. That's the whole point. So, I mean, it's true. You play Dota not to win. You play Dota to make others lose. That's... am I wrong? Is anyone in it just to win?
I focus on the me winning more than losing.
But yeah, it's having your cake and eating it too kind of issue.
It really depends which heroes they pick.
I mean, I believe the Valve philosophy has always been that, the reason why there's not a give up button in Dota 2 is because it is fun for the other team to win. And you can't rob that from people.
Yes.
It's also miserable in League. It's miserable. You'll have somebody will feed first blood and concede. You lose one team fight at 20 minutes and your team just wants to give up immediately because it's like, oh, just move on to the next one. We lost.
I think that's more of the issue.
In Dota, it's one guy typing "we lost," and in League, it's somebody actually pressing a button that if your teammates agree with him, the game ends. And it's like,
right.
But we can still win. Like, we're behind, but we can still win. Or, like, I was hoping to team fight them one more time. Nope, that's gone. Because, I don't know, the majority of my team decided to surrender 2 minutes before the throne dies. It's like, what's the point? Like, it takes that fun away from your opponents that worked for that moment.
Then let me ask about the CSGO version, which is obviously different because CSGO is a different game. But, like, you can vote to kick somebody, or if somebody leaves and abandons, then you can obviously vote to surrender. I guess there is sort of that issue in Dota where if you abandon someone, you could just leave.
The difference is that CSGO, your power curve isn't as big. Like, if I'm winning in CSGO, I have a scoreboard advantage, but there's only so many guns you can hold at one point, It's not like, I can shoot 6 guns at the same time because I'm winning by a lot. So that's where I would say the difference is.
All right, so here you go. 3 ways to save Dota 2, save in quotation marks. Number 1, focus on custom games for new players and give them something fun to play that isn't stressful. That way, people can get acclimated to Dota without being terrified to play it. Number 2, if I fucking report somebody in my game, have an algorithm where I don't play with that guy for a couple days. Please, that's all it takes. Make reports, do something to make you feel like you're empowered. Number 3, reward people for doing positive things. Commends should come with something. People should actively try to make Dota 2 a better place. Human beings are simple. It's called positive reinforcement. Getting a pat on the head and saying good job is one thing, but getting something, any kind of privilege, who cares? The ability to have super pauses or something. Give good people something and positivity will spread. That's it. 3. Yeah, let them spin the fucking Crystal Maiden wheel if they get more than 2 commends a week. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You fix the toxicity, you get new players. Done. 3 things, game saved.
I think they need more tutorials as well about simple things. Like they could have like mini games or something would be kind of good. Mini games that teach you mechanics.
That's it. Mini games that teach mechanics that are focused on the lore.
Well,
don't care.
Okay,
but I mean that's true though. Remember the little item quiz game when you're waiting in queue, right? Something like that where you can kind of learn stuff.
People ate that shit up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Things like that. I mean, you could do a little tutorial, like an A to Z challenge, but you're playing against bots, and there's some, like a gold, silver little challenge thing to be able to micro it or kill stuff, so you could learn the heroes in a more interactive, badge, healthy way. So you can, look, I've mastered every hero. There's a lot of ways that you could. Yep.
Why don't they have stuff like you have a hero and your last hitting as a mini game while you're loading into a game, and it's like every hero has their different last hitting stuff, and it's like how many last hits can you get in a row, shit like that. And then I don't know. There's always ways to integrate good tutorial in mini game form. I agree with you. So, but Valve doesn't want to focus on that.
I mean, it's just a lot of effort too, right, for Valve in terms of the Dota 2 team, and I think it's worth it. But the question is, this all sounds good in theory, but will they ever think about doing something like that? I don't know.
It is fun to be an ideas guy.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be that hard to make a custom game. But I don't know how to. I've played around with the editor briefly, but I feel like you could make something in the store. But is it worth your time?
Yeah.
Like if I spend, I don't know, a couple 100 hours or something developing a custom game that has all these things in it,
Right.
is there a way for me to get paid for it other than just like Twitch subs or something like tangential? I don't know.
Here's the other thing: is it worth to make these game modes if you're not getting that many new players in the first place? If there was an advertising campaign to go along with it, like we've seen from like I don't know, like WoW, they're kind of advertising. If they can do that for Dota 2 and you get new players, then you have this other like this new tutorial, the new mini games and stuff like that. If you have both of those hand in hand, I think it's worth it. But like if you're not getting that many new players, which I don't know how many new players are coming into Dota at this point, obviously not very many considering where we're at right now. But if we're not getting very many new players, then is there any incentive for them to make those custom games and those tutorials and things like that?
Sure, and that's kind of Valve's philosophy, right? I mean, why work on something why work on improving something? Valve doesn't advertise. They don't care about that shit. They would rather just make Artifact, which is a new-ish Dota game that will probably bring in new people, but it's a new project too. So I mean,
that's a good point. Actually, that's another really good way that they could grow. Like it's like the Blizzard model. Like they'll put some Overwatch hero in Heroes of the Storm, and they will advertise to Overwatch people like, oh, if you go play 10 games of Heroes of the Storm, we'll give you this skin for this character in Overwatch. So even though those people don't care about heroes, they'll go do it for a day or two with their friends, maybe play that game occasionally, and therefore get rewarded in the game they want. Any Hearthstone player might play Dota now.
Like, there was a thing for if you play 10 games of Heroes of the Storm, when I was playing WoW like 2 years ago last year, if you play 10 games of Heroes of the Storm, you would get a new mount or something in WoW. And people, like you mentioned, they eat that shit up, right?
Yeah.
So it's that sort of thing. And you're right. I think Artifact can be huge for that in that regard for Dota.
Speaking of Heroes of the Storm, as just a weird aside, somebody tweeted at me happy birthday and said, happy birthday to the guy that got me hooked on Heroes of the Storm. I was just like, how is that possible? I played Heroes of the Storm for like 3 weeks when it was new and hot and got bored. I'm so sorry, sir. You were an unintended victim, and I don't even know how it happened.
Wait, was he trolling you, though?
No, he seemed very genuine. He tweeted back and said, don't be sorry. I'm loving it.
Wow.
Did you stream the game? Did you make videos?
No. I mean, we may have streamed it once or twice, but...
Maybe the fact that you exist in Dota made him quit Dota, and then he...
He's just really bad at collecting his own golden experience, so it's better when he just... saps from his teammates. He feels like he's doing something. I'm not sure.
All right. Well, at any rate, yeah, I feel like Artifact is going to have a huge boost in Dota 2 because it's going to take a lot of people from the card community. I feel like people will come back and play Artifact casually and then miss Dota. So, yeah. Dota ain't going anywhere.
It blows my mind that in all of these threads about Dota dying that I've read, I've never read a comment about Artifact, and it's like the best argument for growing Dota out of all the things we talked about today.
I think so.
I mean, people are pretty stupid. People all think that Artifact is gonna suck too. It's gonna be so good. It's made by Valve. Who fucking cares?
Yeah, Valve's gonna do a good job on it, and then anybody that gets into the lore and the heroes, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I can actually play those heroes in this game called Dota 2. Maybe I should try it."
Exactly.
And then we're gonna have more players. Yeah, and it'll go back and forth, and you'll play Artifact and be like, "Oh man, I've been really into playing this this Viper card. I'm gonna go. That makes me want to play Viper in the regular game. It's gonna fuel. You're just gonna be sitting there thinking about Dota heroes all day and be like, you know what? I want to try a crazy Mjolnir build on Crystal Maiden. That sounds fun. I don't know. There's gonna be shit like that. That just happens,
dude. I like it.
That's gonna save the game.
I'm all for more Viper players.
I like.
Listen up, dude.
It's organic growth, baby.
The women's suffrage. Okay. Get the civil rights movement.
Yes.
People were on the wrong side of history there. Number 3, Artifact's gonna suck. The same one. If you're against those two, you're gonna be on the wrong side of history, my friends. I'm telling you. Don't be on the wrong side of history, all right?
Great comparison, Slacks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
Just trivialize so much.
Trivialize?
So many things were just trivialized.
Same caliber.
Picked the wrong week to do that, I think.
Yeah.
What happened this week? What?
Just go check your Facebook, dude.
Slacks doesn't use social media, guys, so he's pretty out of the loop. What you didn't realize is that his Twitter is actually someone that his personal assistant, right?
What? Did someone destroy women's suffrage? What?
There's a lot of people speaking out about sexual harassment
Hashtag
stuff
me too.
and assault and stuff like that.
People on Facebook are posting Me Too. It's like an awareness for
It's
It
basically
started
like
because
a-
someone was assaulted. That's how the whole thing started.
It's basically like everybody, just about everybody you know, has been harassed or assaulted. That is a female.
Oh.
Or men. I'm sure men post it too. I haven't seen. I've only seen women, but
I only post Me Too on in real life on Reddit. Me in real life. Me too, please.
Me
Is that
too.
Is that what it is?
no,
I mean,
think
me
it's
too.
Nope.
unrelated.
Nope, wrong one
Well,
there.
that makes a
but-
lot more sense. I keep seeing all this sexual assault thing, and I keep thinking people want some of that. So,
God damn
okay,
it.
this makes a
Whew,
lot.
okay. So, well, somehow what started as a shit sandwich of a topic turned into a good conversation, guys. Well
Me
done.
too.
Me too.
Thanks, Dunkey.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Dunkey.
Dunkey. So, okay, well, let's keep going down the list here. We were hoping to be talking about a patch by now. Of course, it hasn't come out yet. Maybe we should talk about Starladder, huh? Did anybody watch that? You guys want to talk about maybe some of the observing? I saw that
Who
gentleman
could've
posted
watched
on Reddit.
that?
Ah, man.
And
No
then-
one
that
watched
is
Starladder. We were watching the
Major All-Stars.
the Major Manila All-Star Weekend. Nah, I was actually watching Starladder from that event. Whoo!
I watched
Can
a
we
bit of
talk about
Starladder.
those fucking matches? Hashtag Kyle. Fuck y'all haters, dude.
He's really good.
Complexity is going to be the best goddamn team of the year. Quote me now, clip it. Complexity wins TI8. Fuck all y'all, dude.
Man.
Hashtag Kyle.
No, they
Go
looked
ahead.
really good. They looked really strong. Top of Group B. They almost beat Mineski. They lost in the first game to that like Viper Pugna combo, and of course they give away the Ice Timbersaw, which is always kind of tough. But like, I don't know, man. They look good. I liked Complexity, and Newbie look surprisingly not very good, which is also
Yeah.
very interesting.
Isn't Mineski
Yeah,
the real
Chris.
storyline here, though? Mineski, what, did they take second in the whole thing?
Yep,
Yeah, they got
they
second.
took second against Liquid. Yeah,
And I think they won game 1 against them in the grand finals too. If I'm not
yes, they
mistaken.
did.
I
They
did
did.
not see the finals. Yeah, ended 3-1.
I saw like
yeah,
a
you're
little
right.
bit of game 2.
I didn't
Wow.
see the grand finals that much, but I saw the drafts. They're always pretty
So,
interesting.
so SG Esports placed higher than Newbie. I just want to state that matter of factly. That's the
At
point that
BT.
we're
TI
at.
G2O.
curse, dude. If you
Yeah.
get like top 3 at TI, you get lazy. I assume. Basically,
Wow.
if you
Lazy.
get top 3, all right. If you get top 3 at TI, you generally have poor results afterwards,
you
unless your
could
team
tell.
liquid. Is this the only case? Is this the only time there's been like a TI super good placer that's actually done well afterwards? Because I feel like that's the case.
No, I
Maybe
think
Except for-
EG
did
won the
TI5
summit.
EG? Yeah, TI5 EG,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay,
Maybe
yeah,
for that.
TI5 EG did good for a couple months, but then fell off,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken.
That's
So
fair.
maybe Liquid's not there yet. But generally, teams don't. I don't know. Maybe they went on a long vacation because they're like, "Hey, we all just made $1 million."
Then
Even though
again,
they're obviously depressed, we saw True Sight.
Then
Yeah,
again,
it was
may
rough.
I put forth the argument that typically after TI, there is a large-scale patch, and we are in one of the longest patch periods. TI, Liquid obviously did well with this patch. They won TI, and it's still the
point.
same patch.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're still going to be doing well. They've mastered it. So,
Yeah.
next patch, we'll see some real shit going down.
I think that's
Cool.
fair.
So,
All right.
can we talk about the drama now? What happened with
Yeah!
the observing? What
just-
went down? Maut,
it was-
you're the observing expert here. What happened?
It was just clear they weren't they haven't like they were maybe newer observers. They weren't used to observing maybe on that scale. It just felt like
I mean,
there were
that's a
just so
fact,
many
I think,
issues. They just couldn't center the camera. They couldn't keep it centered. They missed action everywhere. They tried doing that dual observer thing that PGL started doing. That didn't work either. A lot of the time they missed stuff. Honestly, sometimes you just have these bad weeks, these bad days of observing. It happens, but like I don't know, the fact that they couldn't quite center the camera, they couldn't quite keep it steady was pretty telling.
Do we know
to
who
me.
their observer was? Was it
I have
somebody
no idea.
experienced? Okay, so nobody knows who the person was.
Didn't
It
he
could
post
be
on
a bad
Reddit
performance.
Didn't he
it
post
was
like
it's
a-
Vandersar
an apology
Croatia.
of some sort, or maybe apologies
Oh,
and
man.
right?
I thought that was the
Okay.
interviewer.
Maybe
No,
it was
that's
the
so-
interviewer.
It was both. That's
Both?
like the
Okay.
new meta. Anytime you get any kind of criticism, you come in and show that you're a real human being, and then people tell you what a great job you're doing.
Yeah.
It's great.
I mean, apparently his name is Vandersar. He's from Croatia. He might. I
Oh.
don't.
One thing I would
No.
point out is that Starladder is the smaller of the two RU organizations, correct?
Right, yep.
RU Hub is way bigger,
Yes.
so it's possible that they just can't get as good of talent for Starladder from the outside. I mean, I barely know who is in each org, but I do know that Starladder is smaller. I think they have more financial backing, but talent-wise, they're way smaller. They have less
Yep.
prestigious Russian talent, I think. So it's possible they just had to hire somebody bad, maybe, or maybe he had a bad performance, or maybe his tech issues. Could be a lot of stuff.
It's true. Everybody starts somewhere, and I think what you're describing is a very real thing, Purge. You have a studio. You have to build an observer from somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere, right? And sometimes you get a gig that's too big for your britches, and something like this happins. But
whatever. Fuck off.
The real story, though, is what Slacks is saying, is that he went from like NASL sound guy level of hatred to holy shit, this guy's trying real hard. He deserves our support. Everybody, let's just give this guy a clap for owning it. And it's insane how he went from zero to hero over the span of what, 2 days or something. It's
but this is a Dota scene. We don't get talked to very often. So when somebody comes in and apologizes, it feels really relieving.
We just want communication.
Which Valve does do recently. Like they talked about the patch thing, not to flame them too hard.
2 points.
I will say about the Observer, I thought I think people were blowing it out of proportion a lot of the time in terms of how well he did. And obviously, they were using Russian talent for first few days. So if I don't know, Gods or somebody is saying something about, top lane, you're not going to be able to hear that a lot of the time. I think they said that they used both Russian and English in the last 2 days. Mm-hmm. It's a tough situation to be in. It's a very tough situation to be in. Like, you think, okay, somebody's talking about something top lane, you should catch it, but you don't because you're listening to the Russian commentators. Who knows what they're talking about?
Wait, did they mirror feeds? Did they use the same observer for Russian and English, or did they give us?
Here, it says in this thread. Let me see. I received feedback from a couple of English casters and also Russian-speaking ones. And let's see.
I'm pretty sure it was one OBS that was split. That was my understanding.
We had been listening to the Russian-speaking caster on the first and second day, and to the English casters in the last few days. So there you go.
Maybe they switched it.
So that happened at Epicenter as well. This last Epicenter, they had one observer that had split feed, and I believe it's been happening. Something the Russians have complained about at previous majors, like majors in the last year, is that it would happen with like the caster only at event with analysts offsite. So what they would do is they would always use English, or they would always use like the in-house observer. So if the person obsing for the Russian stream or for the English stream isn't listening to the English casters, then he's basically operating entirely based on what the Russians want to look at, want to talk about. And if the English people point out something verbally, the ob just isn't going to jump. That happens all the time. Observers occasionally miss stuff, and they'll go to something because one of the casters sees it. So it's like all of these things combining probably created just a shit experience. And it was more noticed on the English stream, and when everybody talks about it, everybody really starts focusing to look for errors. So it's probably just like a big snowball effect. Yeah. Is my guess.
Whatever. Who cares? Listen, the people, organizers of tournaments, the number one thing, you could have a bad panelist, you could have a bad caster, you could have a bad anything, and your tournament will survive. But the observer is the only gateway into the game. It is the only thing, and it's on every single game. People are not there for any of those other people. You could have a shit reporter. Who fucking cares? Nobody watches the reporter anyway. Trust me, it's the job I usually do. No one fucking cares. The observer is the most important. Don't skimp on the observer. So no fucking mercy, no fucking, get a good observer. There's only 2 of them. That sucks. There should be more of them.
There's 3.
But
there's 3.
Well, yeah. So anyway.
Pretty much any event that has like major every language coverage should have like one observer at least per language.
Yep.
And that at least understands the language.
And there's actually a fair few more observers. Obviously, I don't have the same kind of credibility as the big 3 do, and Blaze as well. That we're both decent at observing. I would suggest just getting, even if you can't afford or you can't swing one of those big English observers, I would say it's still important to grab at least somebody that knows how to observe at least correctly a little bit. I think.
Right.
Yeah, it's overlooked is probably the safe thing to say. And it's probably very easy to look and see like, hey, I could just duplicate the Russian feed to the English people and save $10,000 or something between flights and hotels and food and salary. That's a lot of money, and I'm sure it's really easy to make that cut sometimes.
Yeah.
Agreed. But it is the most important one, all right? Or else you're going to have that
I think you're
problem.
right, Slacks. I like the way you framed it. Very few people tune in for one specific talent or one specific thing, but that is one, regardless of why you're watching, you're fucking watching the observer. Like, you don't have a choice. So it is truly that gateway into the game. I wouldn't
look at it as the most important thing. I would say it's the one thing that you absolutely can't mess up.
Right.
And if it's really good, people probably don't notice, but you can't mess it up, period.
And here's the other thing, though. It's, again, we've talked about this a lot, but it's a thankless job. So even if you're doing well 90% of the time, if you mess something up even once, people are going to get on your case about it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of rough in that regard. But there's still a big difference between messing up all the time and messing up once. Obviously,
I think what makes it really bad is when, I mean, you never want the lead caster to be doing camera work, but when the consensus is you should have just let OD Pixel control the camera, it would have been better than what you did, and that was your only job. I think that's when people feel like it's way over the line of just like, dude, you didn't have to be perfect, but holy shit, we could have let the caster do it and it would have been better.
Yeah.
You know, and that's madness. That's that just shouldn't be from a practical standpoint.
I mean, maybe we need to find out ways to make the observing job a little bit more thankful. Maybe that'd be nice. I mean, at TI, it's nice they put up their faces and it says their names and stuff, but maybe if tournament orgs, have some time to talk to the observers. A lot of them know a lot about Dota, and meet them into more personalities. It might get better in that regard, but I don't know.
That's true.
Who knows?
I mean, the thing, like, here's what you could do also, and this isn't for everybody, but YNK from CSGO was an observer and became an analyst. Getting the observers maybe more involved in the actual production might not be a great idea depending on who the observers are, but most of us, I think, have pretty good personalities, so maybe that's something you could do. I don't know if it's the best idea, but it's just a thought.
Yeah, or even, give only the observers the chat wheel with voices, just make it an unlockable client thing that they can pump in once in a while. Give them a toy. Give those poor guys a toy, all right? Anyway.
Oh my.
So,
There's the toy. There's all the voice lines that me and Tort wrote for TI. Anybody can use those for broadcast. Sorry, my dog's whining.
That's pretty hype.
That's in any tournament. Any observer can do that right now. I don't know if anybody knows about it.
How do you
But
do
God!
the idea was that
shut
people
your
could
mouth.
use it.
Purge, shut up, Maut. We're gonna make you the world's best observer,
Dude, how do I tell me how to do it, and I'll do it.
We'll do this off.
I can
Camera.
tell
But the
which
next
people
pro
know.
game, when you come in and then I hear Warlock's ult with refresher, if someone dies and it goes, "Can you believe this?"
No, you can't do voice lines.
fucking
No,
idiot.
you can't do that. You can do like the text pop-ups though, that tell you about heroes and stuff.
Oh. Okay, I thought it was something.
You got me hyped up, Purge.
Damn, I was super hyped.
I mean,
I thought you
information
put
that
in
I wrote
lines.
is hype.
Sure.
You're
Sounds
just saying
great.
that we can use the stupid the noob stream shit. Ah, man.
Yeah.
All right, forget it.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
nice.
man.
Look, I'm just saying Valve is trying to make the game more appealing. Anybody can make their own noob stream, is what I'm trying to say.
Nice.
That is
Well,
cool.
that's very neat.
That's
How
good.
neat.
That's nice.
Except
gonna
for
use-
people that directly compete with the main broadcast.
Oh!
What a
Are we on to
segue.
the real drama? Woo!
This is our final showpiece. This is the big kahuna here.
Really?
Valve
This is it?
Valve has spoken. Unless you have something to top this, Slacks. I mean, it's not often the Overlord awakes from their slumber and engages in us in a more, what's the word, kind of stream of consciousness dialogue.
This is like you've been arguing with your sibling for like hours, and your parent comes in and like slaps you a little bit and is like, "This is how it is," and then leaves before you can ask questions. But it's
Wow.
better than them being quiet.
Yes.
I thought it was a little bit more like you're praying to Satan and then your house actually does catch on fire, just a little bit. And you're like, was that a coincidence?
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah. So, for those of you
Alright,
living
go.
under a rock and have no idea what we're talking about, maybe some of those audio-only listeners that pop this on during their commute once every other week, I don't know who you are out there, but we love you and thank you.
Hello.
This is the blog. Valve has released Dota 2 broadcasting guidelines, rights, and whatnot. And it helps clarify some of the dialogue that's been going on, especially in the last What the Duck, about can community streamers like Bulldog just cover stuff like Starladder? Should Twitch be honoring DMCAs? Where does everything fall on that paradigm? And I think this blog helps clarify some of it, but maybe also leaves us with a couple of extra questions. Purge, do you want to give us the TLDR perhaps? You're quite good at those.
Okay. The first paragraph is basically like they're saying there's people have been talking. Okay, that's the first paragraph. Second paragraph is like there's a lot of cool websites. Here are some of them. It was just like a nice shout out, kind of reminded me of like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. We're independent broadcast studios. That's us right there.
And
That's
they're like
us.
they don't want to
Hey!
mess. They don't want to mess things up by being too heavy-handed. And then at the end, they're basically like, let me find the really important sentence. It says, to that end, in addition to the official fully produced streams from the tournament organizer itself, we believe that anyone should be able to broadcast a match from Dota TV for their audience. Now, proponents of that are probably read that sentence and they cheer. They're like, "Oh, nice. That's what I wanted to hear." Because I think this post is like a horoscope. You can kind of read into it into things that you want to see. But then afterwards it says, "However, we don't think they should do so in a commercial manner or in a way that directly competes with the tournament organizer's stream. This means no advertising or branding overlays and no sponsorships. It also means not using any of the official broadcast content such as caster audio, which is a very big question in the past, camera work, overlays, interstitial content," I assume that means content in between games or something,
Yep.
and so on. Finally, it's not permission for studios to broadcast each other's events like we wouldn't do the summit. So the thing, like, it answers a lot of questions.
You
Like,
forgot the
people were
last
like-
line, Purge. In general, everyone should play nice together, and we think the boundaries should be pretty clear. I think that
The
last
question
sentence
is-
sums it up.
That sentence is irrelevant, basically.
It's not
so-
irrelevant. It means Daddy is watching.
Yes.
Be good.
Okay, yeah, and again, the second paragraph that they basically said we like to be impartial, that ties into the last sentence because it says, like, they don't want to put all these restrictions in because if they do, it limits these cool websites like Dota Buff, Dota, etc. from they might not have existed otherwise because it, like, if they get too hands on, it stifles creativity and ideas, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the sentence that everybody was focusing on was, we don't think they should do it in a commercial manner, and they also focus on this means no advertising or branding overlays. I think the most important sentence, in my opinion, is or in a way that directly competes with the tournament organizer stream. I think that's the most important sentence in the whole thing.
Yeah.
What does directly compete mean? And directly compete with their stream. I think that if you broadcast the same tournament at the exact same time in a different language, that does not directly compete with the organizer stream, in my opinion. I think if you did English, which is the same as the organizer stream, and you delayed it by 5 minutes, that would also be vague enough that it doesn't necessarily directly compete with the organizer stream. So I think that's the important thing. Either way, you're not supposed to have branding on their content, but the directly competing, in my opinion, is the crucial sentence that says, like, don't be assholes, don't try to make money from somebody else's hard work, even if technically it's in the watch tab.
The commercial part is what makes it also interesting because a partnered Twitch stream technically means commercial, right? That's a business contract. You're a contractor of Twitch. They might only pay you $5 in ad revenue for the year, but that's $5 of commercial ad revenue that you're getting. So in some ways, it is still a pretty harsh limitation if you apply it that literally.
Yes. But again, that's why Valve is keeping it vague, because if they were specific, then people would look at the specific thing they said and get more logical things. They have to be really, really broad with the way they're saying this. Like, that's why they wrote, in general, everyone should play nice. It doesn't really mean that much, but it basically means, like, don't be dicks. We can't specify things because it's difficult to do so. They can't write a sentence that says, you're not allowed to have overlays on your Twitch stream, but you are allowed to get donations and you are allowed to get subs, because they don't want to have to put rules down for that shit, because then it's not even enforceable anyways. It's like creating more gray area. This is like they're basically saying, like, have morality and don't directly profit from somebody else's stuff through sponsors, and don't directly compete with the stream. That's basically what they're saying, which is kind of what we argued, I think, on the previous What the Duck, where we talked about it.
Fairly
Obviously,
close,
none of us
at
are
least.
lawyers.
A lot of overlap.
But that was at least a lot of our opinions. It definitely was kind of mine as well. Because, like, if we work hard to make Midas Moon, somebody comes and, like, takes the viewership, that's not very cool at all.
And
because we're putting in hard work into it. You know?
And I like that they did list some specific things, like caster audio, as you mentioned. That was a huge point of contention. So now that's pretty clarified. That is something that we were right about. I'm not afraid to say it. We own our voices. Valve has given permission from their side, but we still have some say in where our voices are monetized. And I like that they put camera work in there. That kind of puts some emphasis on camera work being a legitimate, verifiable skill that you can't just take for granted and say, oh, we're using Pimp Muckle's camera work. Great, thanks, buddy. You know, it sort of asserts some intellectual value to that. That's nice.
Yeah, basically we could DMCA any YouTube channel that rips our Twitch VODs and uploads them to YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, for sure now. Because before, they would always link that page that said, oh, you can monetize from Valve content. And they would take that to think, like, oh, these caster voices, this camera work, it's all technically Valve content because it's in Dota TV. But this basically says people should not do that.
Yeah,
so
but that wasn't really the issue, though. I mean, it kind of was.
I mean,
The
that
DMCA of
was an
YouTube.
issue that wasn't hugely important right now, but it was still an issue.
Right, I agree.
Because every
That's-
studio goes through that dilemma. Do I DMCA that channel?
But I think what they were talking about more was like a Bulldog or a Grant type stream here, maybe is what they were mentioning, and that's
This
I think
shit
I don't know.
is a direct attack on my boy Grant. fuck y'all. Number one. Valve trying to be like the fucking Assassin's Order. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted unless we decide it's not. You ain't assassins, bitches. You're a company. Give us some rules. Number two, Grant working his whole life until we get sponsored, and then 2 days later this shit comes out and says you can't do it as long as you're sponsored. Direct attack! Direct attack on Grant! Leave him alone! Maybe if you hired the man, then you wouldn't have to go through all these headaches. So there you go, okay? I'm also pissed because this year I didn't want to go to the Summit and I wanted to cast all the Summit games from my new studio under the valley. And now I can't. And that pisses me off. Because I bought a bunch of fucking logos that say Under the Valley and now they're worthless.
Okay, Slacks, were you in the What the Duck last time when we talked about this? Or did you
Yeah,
miss out?
I watched it. It was fuck you.
But you weren't there, right? I know, that was the one I tried to talk about Midas Moon and didn't do it justice. I'm sorry. But
No, I'm just kidding.
like I mean when Grant first tweeted that he's like, I'm gonna cast official games no matter what, I was like my initial thought was like, that's crossing the line, was my impression. And even if like if he rolls in for the best games and gets a bunch of viewership, it's not really fair, in my opinion,
If it's
business
fair.
wise. I
They
don't know.
should have hired his ass, alright? You wanna know
Yeah,
how
but
I
is
started?
Grant alright?
I
Yeah,
snuck into TI4, alright? You have to
Okay.
make a life for yourself. And if
But
you don't,
is Grant if Dota Pit approaches Grant and they're like, hey Grant, do you want to cast every game of Dota Pit on our channel with our overlays and advertisements? Or they're not just going to roll up to Grant and be like, Grant, do you want to cast the best games when you want on your stream if you use the overlays? They're not going to do that because then Grant's getting the sub money, he's getting the ad viewership, he's getting the metrics that the sponsors need to see.
right, but
Like,
you have to entice people. You could say, hey, instead of doing it from home, I'll pay you a couple
okay,
$1,000.
does that match their budget? Probably
No.
not. They're not going to fly Grant somewhere to put him in a studio to cast Dota Pit qualifiers when they can get some online caster to do it for, like Grant, for example, for less money.
Welcome to fucking capitalism, bro. Okay,
Well,
I'm
yeah,
not
I
gonna
know.
eat a hamburger that costs 5 cents when I could go make my own hamburger for 2 cents and fuck it.
Yes, and that's why they weren't going to fly Grant to some location to produce a great stream, because besides, he's got a full-time job. He can't, like, Grant is trying to take all the best bits of what he wants is what happened in that circumstance.
Sure.
And I totally understand why it's like easy to want to do that because it's right there on the watch tab and you're already streaming anyways. But you got to think through the impacts and the morality of whether or not it's fair. In my opinion.
Morality, I'll be real. I love Grant. Dick move. But
For who? For him?
Valve or what he did.
for what he did. I mean, dick move. Smart move. Great move for life. Yes. Welcome to life. Not everyone is going to win. Sometimes you got to look out for number one. And sometimes you got to say, my product is so good, unless you include me, your product will suffer. Welcome to life. So, I don't know. That's my opinion. And is it right or wrong? No, it's a fucking dick move.
I have an
But you gotta do
anecdote
it.
that is smaller scale but somewhat relevant, right? With Dota TV. There was a D2CL tournament that was like the first big one I was going to cast. Navi's sponsoring. Who's that guy? Zero Gravity, CEO of Navi or whatever, adds me on Skype and says, "Yo, dude, I don't give a shit what you're doing. You can't be streaming our tournament." And I said, "Well, I have a Dota 2 ticket, so you can't stop me." Ha 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 ha. And then I casted it anyway. And then Twitch DMCA'd me, and he, I made a big stink about it, and then he posted on the Reddit thread, and it was a whole thing. And I think the point that Slacks is making is very true, where there's a point that comes where it's sort of worth it to test the limits and kind of poke the bear in some ways. At the end, is it a dick move? Sure, but in some ways, it kind of sparred this whole conversation where now we've made some progress down the path. So
yeah, that tweet that Grant made started this all, because for years this all functioned in a way where people just didn't do it, or they accepted that they got DMCA'd, basically. And Grant in some ways spurred this Valve response because it started the drama, because he basically was the first to be like, fuck it, I'm stepping over the line, I'm just doing it. I don't care. Basically
He's
what
a
he said.
goddamn hero.
It was heroic, and in some ways he protected broadcasters a lot, but it was definitely really crappy timing with the whole EG sponsorship thing. I mean, he can still make really good content. It's just he can't go cast other people's tournaments at the same time.
But
He
I
could
feel
delay
like
it for like 8 minutes or something.
That's what
Probably
his
fine.
stream relies on, though. He could make good content, but a lot of the stuff he does is just casting other games, which again isn't isn't really a problem. But
I mean, he can cast pub games, he can cast FPL games.
well, he does.
Can
He
make
does
an
cast
in-house
pub
league.
games and FPL
Yeah,
games, but
and that's
you're
what he
not,
has to focus on.
But people aren't like, especially when he wants to stream. A lot of the time, there's a pro game going on, and there's people maybe not playing in FPL games, and maybe he doesn't want to cast those pub games while the games are going on. But you're right; it's something he might have to do in the future. I don't know.
The only ways to make good laws is to break them. That's society, bro. That's life.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well, it's also hard to draw the line of when somebody goes from a community streamer to a commercial streamer. You know, you take a zero
That
off
is
of
true.
Grant's stream numbers, you kind of don't care that much. And it's not something that happens overnight. Maybe it's just one day where he's on fire, somebody hosts him, and he's got all these viewers all of a sudden. It's not a black and white thing to just say, well, those community guys, if you've got, 10 viewers, just do whatever you want. No problem. You should be able to do that because it's a nice thing. Drawing that line becomes increasingly difficult.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, this is how the scene evolves, though. This is how sometimes it hurts, but those broken bones can come back stronger. Personally, because of all this, I'm pretty terrified about selling rights. I mean, Chinese stream, let's say that Velat decides, hey, I really like Midas Mode. I'm going to go stream Midas Mode on Velat's channel, not with RU Hub, but I will invite some of my buddies from RU Hub. I mean, what do I do now? Do I stop them? Do I have any say at all? I have no fucking idea. Who knows? But until it happens, you don't know. You got to break those bones.
It's a tough world out there, man. IP stuff and like all of this digital, like non-tangible ownership over things, it gets really convoluted really fucking quickly.
And their statement doesn't even like, I mean, again, I'm not a lawyer, but it says we don't think they should do so in a commercial manner.
Yeah,
it doesn't even
exactly.
explicitly say like you can't.
Yeah.
It's like we don't think you should. We think it's a dick move. Is basically what they're saying, or in a way that it directly competes with the tournament organizer system because they know if they don't defend the tournament organizers, they undermine the entire major minor system. That was the tough part. Like Valve wants anybody to watch games. They want Grant's stream to do well, but they're like, okay, but realistically, we're allowing Dota TV to undercut every single major minor that we just happened to let exist. It was like this weird like headbutting thing. So now they're in this like Valve is basically in this weird place. They'd prefer that people just as many people as possible watch Dota, but obviously that hurts how it works.
Right.
So they can't even put out a statement that's like super explicit. I don't know, it's weird.
Euros, mute the stream for a bit until I wave. Okay, Euros, give me a moment. There is a reason why America is the greatest country in the world. It's because it is built upon people constantly trying to make the best things possible in pure capitalism. Capitalism breeds the best product. It breeds the best work ethic. It breeds the best everything. If you want to fuck up this game, then you do the League of Legends strat, where you only have a top-down initiation, and then it's just the same fucking thing over and over again. South Korea wins every year, guys. Sorry, everything sucks and it's boring as fuck. If you want something good, you have to have capitalism and rewards for people that innovate and make things better. And that is why America has always been the greatest. Anyway, I love Europe. I think the baguettes are delicious, and I hope to eat it again. Anyway, that's the reason why Dota is the biggest esport in the world monetarily. It's because people get invested into it, people constantly make it better, and it always grows. And that's why League is always going to be a piece of shit.
And compendiums. Let's be real. It's compendiums.
Yeah.
And the game is big. They're very passionate fans and compendiums.
Yeah.
Oh,
but
man.
passionate fans because they're invested in the growth. They see the change. If you have a top-down leadership that just Riot Games says, this is how every tournament will be, or Overwatch says, you need to pay $30,000 if you want to get into Overwatch League, and by the way, this is how everything will be. Whatever. Yeah, 30 million? What are they, fucking dumbasses?
It's
What?
millions.
It's millions.
For a slot, yes. 30,000, dude.
That would have been hilarious.
It's millions.
30
Oh man, all those basketball teams thinking hard about whether they want to buy an esports slot for 30,000. Oh man, that'll make a dent into the Wizards.
All right, in their defense, how much is it actually? Is it like 6 mil or something?
No,
10 mil?
I think it's like 20
right.
was the
20
league
mil.
number. Was
Around
20
there.
mil.
Let
Okay.
me see.
Is that worth it, Slacks?
20 million. It's 20 million.
I think we actually just broke Slacks. This whole time he forgot about
You're
place
off.
value. Was missing
You're
a
off by
couple
factor
zeros.
of 100. 100 times off.
right, you guys gotta move
So
on.
no, I see I see your point though, Slacks. I mean, I tend to agree with you. You know, I mean, the dark side of capitalism, it tends not to be with the consumers, right? A highly competitive marketplace is great for consumers. It's shitty for the workers, right? Isn't that the dark side?
True. That is the dark side. For guys that put on tournaments, of course, there's a huge negative. People are losing money. People that get lost in the competitiveness. I mean, it sucks. But life isn't fair. Sometimes you'll be walking down the street, you'll have a brain aneurysm, and you'll fucking die. So welcome to life. It's hard.
Wow.
Get to work and do what you can while you can. I gotta feed Mr. Rue. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think one thing I'd like to talk more about this is again about what directly competes with the tournament organizer stream. Like I saw a Wagamama tweet, I think right before the Valve announcement came out. He said, I feel like if I download a replay from a tournament game and I make content about it, that he's going to get in trouble, which isn't true because, I didn't think it was, I replied to it saying that like, if you make content from a replay of a tournament, you shouldn't get in trouble because it's not like, that's actually transformative. If you hop into a game and cast it live in the same language at the same time, that's not very transformative. It's more like a different flavor of what currently exists, and it's like close enough that it competes.
So that's what it comes down to, fair use, right?
Well, so
yeah, I mean, who knows exactly how it works, but what I want to talk about is what are cool ways that you can do something at the same time scale in the same language that would be transformative. Like I thought, what if I do a stream where I only player perspective, one player for the whole game, and I just talk about what he's doing and talk about how it's interesting and why he's doing that. I feel like that would be, it's like gray area, but I think that's transformative enough
I agree.
that it wouldn't be directly competing with the tournament organizer stream. And that would be a way that Grant could do something where he could still be pretty close to the same time scale, maybe still have sponsorships. I don't know if that's over the line or not.
But
like there's something to explore here. Like I genuinely think that line was by far the most
Sure.
interesting.
Innovation.
I think if you even were to do something where you only show the fog of one team, for example, you only show one team's perspective, I think even that might be transformative enough.
I think to be safe, I would combine something like that with like a 5-minute delay, 10-minute delay.
Right.
That's the
Hey,
big
you know,
thing. I think
what
timing,
if you
right?
timing? What if you just cast it through a showcase mode the whole time, guys? You know,
You literally could.
Good luck getting
Yes.
viewers.
That would be
What if you-
transformative,
I'm
100%.
the only caster that does it through the shitty HTC Vive observing client. We can sit in the creep camp the whole time. Oh,
Yeah.
it's
and that would-
transformative but highly ineffective, boys.
Who the fuck
Come
is
on.
going to DMCA that and defend it? Be like, Slacks has been in this large creep camp. He saw 3 fucking team fights at the same time as our Starladder stream. Nobody would ever DMCA that, ever.
True.
I think timing is the key thing, though, Purge. I think even a 5-minute delay makes a big difference because from the hardcore viewer fan base, people want to see what's happening live. They want the fastest feed of like as close to real life as possible. And I think that is a huge differentiator in terms of comparable product. If we have the main event live stream and then we have like the Purge post-analysis stream that is 10 minutes delayed and it looks at fights in more detail, I would say that might be transformative enough because it's not people that want to watch the live product are going to watch it, and people that don't care about it being truly live are going to be a little bit more gravitated.
But they're only going to be there for that person at that point.
Right.
It's not about watching the game live. It's about seeing that person interact with the content
And
in a
on
different
that
way.
same note, I would say I think replays are fair game. I think pretty much anything
Yes.
replay related is it's disconnected enough from the live experience that go to fucking town.
Well, I would say,
I would say
with
outside of
no
studios,
caster,
but-
no caster audio. If you want to use the replays,
Yeah,
then it's
yeah.
Well,
fine.
sure, yeah. I'm
I would say
assuming
outside of
that you're.
studios.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think it's fair if Moonduck comes in and casts Summit games and uploads them to our YouTube channel. If we cast them the same way, you know, like
God, I
but
don't know. That's a
individuals-
weird one.
I
That's
wouldn't
not
do that.
weird.
I think it's
That's
I think it's
a
weird.
dick move.
It's a dick
That's
move,
weird.
yeah.
It's a dick
no.
move. I
So,
wouldn't
but
do
what
that
if you
in a
waited
second.
24 hours though? You think that would be okay?
I still think it's a
No.
dick move. No,
Okay.
I would not make. If I did like a one-off, oh here's this really cool game that I wanted to look at, yeah, whatever. But if I did
However-
like most of the games or a shitload of them, yeah,
If you advertised it
However-
as like an alternative to the mainstream,
Yeah,
instead
like to
of-
try to fight their playlist or something.
A better argument is if OD Pixel takes a replay of a game from a tournament and then uploads how he would have casted it days later, good or not?
I don't know. That's
Is
a
it
good
a
question.
instructional like this is how I cast a game?
I think
No,
Yes,
no, he
or-
just casts it and puts
Just
it on his
casts it.
YouTube.
Yeah.
If it's just one game, I don't think it's a big deal.
All right. Anyway, who
That's
fucking
kind of my
cares?
opinion.
This is all
Anyways.
semantics. We'll never know what
No,
is
this
gonna
shit's,
happen.
this is the shit that's gonna happen in the future. Like this is
Yeah.
the breaking the rules stuff that you were mentioning before.
Break the bones.
Finding
Like
the edge
this
case.
is the and I think the cool part is what Starladder did after this announcement. They instantly pushed their Dota TV delay to 5 minutes or something like it was like 4 minutes. They set the game lobby delay to 4 minutes. So it was like no matter what, it reduces the amount of DMCAs because anybody that watches on Dota TV is already behind by 4 minutes. That solved like so many issues. It's like forcing the morality, like removing the morality choice away from anybody's hands. That just delays everybody Dota TV and makes the Starladder stream top priority.
Do you want to know why that works? Because it focuses on the evil of humanity. That's always a way that you can know that you succeed. If you 5-minute delay, then you'll have a bunch of assholes from the mainstream come in and be like, this team fucking won, retards. And then, that's it. As long as you can harness evil, you can grow and create good. Think about it, guys.
Well said,
I guess,
Flex.
yeah. It's undermining the competer's streams, yeah.
So if we tell League to make a Dota patch, maybe it will come out tomorrow. Think about it.
Yeah, that one went over my head, bud. I don't know. I can't tell if I'm just.
All right, anyway.
Mm.
Are we moving on? Can we talk? Can I have a new topic for us? Or
All right. Well, we need to wrap up fairly soon. We're at an hour and a half here, pal. So, or we're at an hour 10.
Who fucking cares?
So,
We're having a great time.
all right.
All right.
Do
Listen
it up.
up. I want to talk about patch impatience.
Okay.
Can we talk about that?
Didn't we already talk
We
about
just
that?
talked about that the first topic.
No.
Well, we
talked
touched on
about The game is dying. That was basically our.
That would have been a great time to talk about patch impatience. Anyways, go
Fuck
ahead.
off. It's time to move. Patch impatience. Chill out, everybody. That's
That's
how
it.
I'm feeling.
That's it.
Chill out. Chill
Back
out,
to you,
everybody.
Zyori.
I mean, chill out, everybody. It's coming. It's coming. Who cares? In Dota, there's always new things to learn. You're not Liquid. You haven't mastered the patch in a way that makes you unbeatable. Learn something new. Play a hero you never played before. Find
They played
your own
Chen like
shit.
4 games of one of their series. Chen wasn't even. Did Chen even get picked at TI? Maybe one time. It's like.
One or two
I
times,
believe
I
he
think.
was highly used at Dream League, fantastic tournament. But anyway, quit bitching. It's coming. I hope they
There's
push
new
it
heroes
out
to
for another
explore.
month.
Just
Yeah,
ban the hero you hate. Don't forget, I used to never ban hero. I banned Spirit Breaker every single game that I play Dota now that I noticed.
I ban PA every game.
You guys suck.
PA is
Come on.
overpowered.
God.
Smart.
It's disgusting.
Smart, dude.
I
Yeah.
used to ban Storm
I ban
Spirit
Arc
every
Warden.
game, and then
I banned the shit out of Arc Warden.
yeah, I'm busy picking Spirit Breaker, Purge.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
real with
fucking
you.
easy.
Patch isn't coming for a long time. Okay. Valve wants to fix the new heroes. The whole reason why we're having a problem is because they've announced that 2 heroes were coming, and then they got themselves into a real fucking pickle. Because it's hard to release new heroes, and it's hard to release 2. And then they're too lazy to release a gameplay patch and then have to release only heroes. They just wanted to bundle it together. And then every day it's just like, when am I going to vacuum my room? It's coming. It's coming. I mean, I got to do this. We're not going to have another patch for a month. All right? It ain't going to happen. They need to balance the heroes.
So are you just guessing, or do you know something?
Get over it,
He
guys.
doesn't know shit.
I don't Get over it. Now, a patch is coming in 2 days. But still, quit bitching.
Just go play Ability Draft or some shit. Find something
play
else
Play
to
custom
like.
games. There's a plenty of
Play-
custom
play
games
custom
out there.
Yeah, there's a
Play
lot
Dota
of great
2010s.
custom
Play
games out there.
Overthrow.
Try a new role. Buy wards sometime. Maybe the first ward you've ever bought, Slacks. You could try buying wards some games. See like how
Treat
more
yourself to a
interesting the
new
game is.
courier, huh?
Give
What better
yourself
way
a
to?
challenge. Write
Yeah.
down a challenge and give it to yourself before the game
Like,
starts.
You know what?
Play those heroes that you think are OP,
Pick
and then if you can
techies.
own with them, all right, yeah, start banning them or something. I don't know.
Go play Team Fortress 2. They just got a patch yesterday.
There you go.
Great game.
Or any other game for that matter.
The patch will be released in 22 hours, everyone. Quote me on that
All
one.
right, set your timer, folks. So, gang,
Wait,
we're-
what's 48 minus 2? 45 hours from now, everyone.
yeah,
Quote me on that.
yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special closer for this podcast, and it is one of the rare and prized Maut Dota stories.
You're hyping it up too much.
Now, no, I have it on good authority
Yeah.
that this is a great, awkward story that involves all sorts of physical altercations. So, Maut,
Yeah!
Mont's gonna hashtag me too.
Please.
Hashtag Maut 2, as somebody tweeted earlier today, last night.
Regale us
right.
with the tale of the Red Hot Chili.
So, to set the stage, yesterday, literally 2 hours before, or like 3 or 4 hours before I left for the concert, I found out that that's when it was, like, because I should mention, the Red Hot Chili Pepper concert was scheduled for March, okay? It was scheduled for March, and then, okay, we'll reschedule it to October. A couple months go by, I haven't heard anything about it, and I see on my Twitter, Chad Smith, the drummer for the Red Hot Chili Peppers, oh, it's Flea's birthday tonight, we're going to celebrate in Denver. And I'm like, oh shit, the concert's tonight. So obviously, even though it's Andrew's birthday, I don't buy him a ticket. I'm like, well, there's tickets for $150. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So I just end up taking an Uber. I just take an Uber to the concert, and it's already.
You can afford an Uber, but not a $150 ticket for Andrew. What did you spend on that Uber? Is like $60 last night.
Listen, I couldn't drive. Right? You want to know why I can't drive? My registration is not there, and I don't have car insurance for Colorado. So.
Yeah, borrowing my car or Carlo's car or Lisa's car.
I don't like driving to Denver in your car. What if I broke it, dude? That would be bad.
That would be bad.
That would be bad.
Okay, so
the Uber's already off to a great start. The lady who was driving me couldn't figure out how to work her navigation, so I had to literally give her directions for 90% of the way, which was always fun. But we get to the concert. I thought I was going to get there after the opening band was done, but I get there and the opening band hadn't even come on yet. So I get to my seat. It's literally the top row of this section. It's like all the way in the top, essentially. Section 342. And there's 2 seats in between me and, like, there's one seat on one side, one seat on the other side. Wait, hold
on. What section was it?
342.
Okay.
Top row.
Go ahead.
So, and I have 2 empty seats next to me, and then there's, like, 2 couples past those seats. So... What ends up happening
is where are the empty seats?
They were northwest and
no,
south,
I'm saying like
southeast.
to your left or your right. Like make it real basic, dude. You just
they were left. There was just an empty seat to my left, empty seat to my right.
Okay.
All right.
That makes sense.
So I have a nice little buffer between me and everybody else, so I can kind of get up and jump around and dance and all that good stuff. And it gets dark, and the section is getting filled up, and one person is told to get out of her seat, and she comes up and she sits right down next to me. And
Which
she's
side?
just like, hey, what?
Right side, left side. Which seat?
Right side.
This is the good part. Shut up, Bert.
She comes up. She says, hey, how are you doing tonight? And I'm like, oh, it's good. She seems nice enough. So it's very dark. I can't really see what she looks like. And you know what? She seems like a nice enough person. She's clearly very intoxicated. But you know what? Who isn't when you go to a concert like that? And the opening band's on. They're playing. They're this like kind of ska-ish band. I wouldn't call them ska. They're like a funk ska band from like New Orleans or something like that. And she just comes up to me and she's just like, man, I really love these horns. I really love this trumpet section. It's the best thing ever. My son plays saxophone and I love it so much. And I'm really, really happy because I thought that I wasn't going to be able to make it. But yesterday I got a ticket and my friends, we came and they're over there and I'm going to sit here and it's going to be a lot of fun. And while she's doing this, let me just give you an example. You might be able to see this. I'm on the edge of my seat like this, right? And she's literally leaning into me like this with her arms and shit around me. And I'm like, that's great. It's really great. And she just kept saying, I really didn't think I was going to make it here today. And you know, I really love the Chili Peppers. I saw them back in 2002. And, you know, it was just a great time. And I'm saying, okay, this lady she's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
This is a crazy lady. And then she just starts getting weird. She starts touching my shoulder and my back. And she starts saying, you look really fun. I'm thinking, okay, well, lady, let's just relax. And I don't want to be, I try to be really polite when I should have just told her to fuck off, to be honest. But she just kept going. She kept touching my back. She kept touching my shoulder. She pulls out a vape pen and she's like, you want to smoke with me? Yeah, I think I'm good. I don't, listen, thanks for the offer, but I'm good to go. And she just kept talking about, you know, I got this kid, I'm 40 years old, and I've been to all these concerts. Last time I came to the Pepsi Center, it was Roger Waters, and they played The Wall. Like, that's great, lady. Please stop.
She had a Muppet Babies tattoo, right?
I don't know what tattoo she had, but it was a million of them, and they were all over. The lights came on, and she really is trying to touch me and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, her friends like yell to her, like, "Oh, we got seats over here." She touched me on my back and my shoulder.
Okay.
Like lower back.
Funny thing about my back is it's located on my cock.
But anyways, so the lights turn on, and she is a buzz cut punk rock 40-year-old lady, and her friends mentioned to say, hey, why don't you come over? Like she goes with her friends, and before she leaves, she says, you want to come over and hang out with us? I swear it'll be a lot of fun. Those were her exact words.
Dude.
And
Dang.
I said politely, no, thank you.
Wow.
And that, and it ended, and yeah.
And then you took an Uber home alone.
And then the guy next to me, one of the guys next to me who was with his like girlfriend, looked to me. He's like, did you know that lady? I'm like, no. He's like, she was fucking crazy. And I said, yes. And that was the end of it.
Wow.
Hashtag me
Maut
too.
too.
Yeah.
Hashtag Maut too.
I mean, yeah,
Wow.
it sounds like definitely some unwarranted touching, but she sounded a little bit more drunk and excited.
I'm just like I'm enjoying
was like-
visualizing the ultra nice Maut, just like, no, thank you, ma'am, I'm not interested. And she's just like, this young man is so nice to me. He's been nicer than anyone's been nice to me all day. I'm gonna fuck this guy. And Maut's just like, please, no, I'm really, no, I'm kind of busy.
It was an experience, man. Let me
I like
tell
it.
you.
Wow. Well, thank you, Maut.
Please,
I hope that
please,
story was good.
no.
I hope you guys enjoyed it.
No,
It's good.
Please.
I was laughing.
You guys ever seen that May video about this really weird pornography?
What?
There's this May video about this. It's just a clip from this really weird pornography where there's an old man and a really hot chick, and she's trying to bang him. And the whole time he's very lightly going, no, please, I'm a virgin, please, no.
Oh, I've seen the video. I know what you're talking about.
That's what I was picturing.
Jesus. Thanks, buddy.
Please,
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Well, that was something. All right.
I thought you were gonna talk
Look it
about
up,
the
kids. Look it
the
up.
but I poop from there, YTMND.
Whoa,
Like for some
whoa.
reason when you said old man and like you know that one?
Whoa, dude, what the fuck?
Do you guys know which
No,
one I'm talking about?
It's
No,
been a while.
I've heard it.
What
but
are you
I-
watching,
it's
bro?
not- yeah.
What the hell?
She goes, but I poop from there. He goes, no,
Oh.
right now you don't. And then it just repeats.
Ah!
I was like, it's like super old. That's like from early 2000s. I thought for sure
Alright.
that was the one you were gonna talk about.
When I was
I had a
like
feeling I was wrong.
13 years old, I worked in a pizzeria, long story. And there are all
Oh,
these
boy.
high school kids, and they're talking about this porn that they watch. And this guy's like, I got the best porn ever. It's about this alien abduction shit. And all the time, he would be like, the line that always gets me off. The line I always go, he goes, not the orgasm, Ray! And he would like gyrate like this. And he did it all the time. And I don't even know what porn was. So, I don't know what porn is. I'm like 13, and I go home. And my parents are yelling at me about something, and I'm at the top of the stairs, and I'm like, oh, no, not the orgasm, Ray! And I walk away, and my dad had the longest talk with me about what the fuck I was talking about. Don't quote porns, kids.
Oh my
And especially around kids.
God.
Alright? Careful, everyone. Careful.
Well, we just did that
No,
multiple
don't-
times. So
Don't
Yep.
do it!
Yep.
Don't do it, everyone!
Wow.
No, please, don't do it! I'm a virgin!
Okay. Well, folks, if you joined us late and you want to catch the beginning of this podcast, you can find it on youtube.com/moonducktv. And, of course, it'll be available at moonduck.tv/podcast. That's another What the Duck in the bag. We won't be back next week, but the week after. And per usual, we've got a lot of fun, exciting things in the pipeline. Midas mode, exactly a month away, Slacks. Woo.
Hey!
Whoa.
Mini update, everybody!
Yep.
Things are happening.
Wheels
We
are
have-
turning.
We have wheels turning. I said that I would not do another blog until the event was fully sponsored, and I'm almost ready to do another blog. So information coming, everyone.
Look out,
do
everybody.
you mean a vlog? A vlog?
A vlog.
A vlog.
Yes.
Yeah, I've never did a V. I didn't know there was a difference. So yeah. Anyway.
A video log versus
Whatever a vlog is.
blog? B-log?
You should start
gonna
blogging
do-
those, Slacks. I know you are. I know it's a
Fuck
joke
that.
that you don't know how to write, but I know you actually know how to spell.
I ain't gonna be no tweet longer piece of shit. I'm upset about something and I can't express
What?
it in
I saw
140
a
characters.
giant post in the Dunkey Reddit thread from you. What are you talking about?
The Dunkey Reddit.
He
thread.
only
That's a-
posts twit
You
longers
you
on
posted
Reddit. That's
I
the-
swear you posted a giant thread in that. You posted a really long comment in that thread. if
It
I'm
was
not
a
mistaken.
one paragraph.
Let me
Really?
look it up. Which one was it? Comparing game styles or the other one that was a
Who
text?
cares? No,
Let me see.
I don't understand blogs. Vlogs, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to get the vlogs. They're like fucking piece of shit content. You just go on, hey everybody, Tuesday here, and I'm Slacks. Wonderful day today. I want to kill myself. Then he shut it off.
Well, I mean,
But-
buddy,
That's
that
great.
content is still more liked than the Bitcoin content I'm making, so keep it up.
Whoa!
But why are you putting it on Moonduck though? I don't
And plugged.
understand.
Because
And
I want the
plugged.
good world of Moonduck fans to be educated about cryptocurrencies. I
Zyori's
want our
talking
fans
about
to be smart.
cryptocurrency. I can't believe it.
I want them to be on the cutting edge of skin coin and altcoin. You know, there's a new eSports ICO coming in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about it tonight, dude. eSports.com.
Whoa!
Look out. The future is here, folks. If you don't know what a Bitcoin is,
shit.
you don't want to get left behind. I'm saving you. I know you
Guys,
haven't
I'm gonna
watched any of them,
start-
Mott. You
I'm gonna
bastard.
start my own coin. It's gonna
not
be
really.
called
You
Cuck
could.
Coin.
You
all
could.
right?
The pug
Cuck
coin.
coins.
The cuck coin.
Listen to me.
Well, what do you?
Are
What's
you
special
only
about
allowed to
Cuck
use
Coin?
it for a certain transaction?
Yeah,
You can only use it to fuck over skin coin.
guys, Cuck Coin is coming out. We only use it for one thing. All right.
Jesus.
All right. Well, anyway, we should probably shut this
All right.
thing off.
Yeah,
Get
let's
us
do
out of
it.
here.
Let's do it. So that's it, guys. We're done. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. Jesus Christ.